Well, I'd like to say, number one, the greatest privilege of my life has been to be the UN representative for the Dominican Leadership Conference at the United Nations. It's something that I always wanted to do, and finally an opportunity arrived, and I was able to apply for the position. So I was very grateful to be asked to represent all of our Dominican sisters worldwide at the United Nations. And also to work with our Dominican justice promoters. As you know, we have a promoter in each continent, and they became my best supporters and my greatest assets because with their help and with their information about their particular region, they could assist us as we decided to make some plans to actually put on some webinars during the Commission on the Status of Women, of which we did 4. So it was really great working with them. They are wonderful women and they're committed to justice. They were also able to help us not only decide what we would put in those webinars, but who among their sisters would they be able to ask to help contribute to the webinars as well. And so that is a real gift to have support in all the different continents, because then we were able to actually reach out to more sisters. And during my time, we were able to reach out to 31 sisters over the last several years just to do the webinars alone. So that's great, because then the UN really becomes our UN. It's not the US UN, it's the Dominican Sisters Leadership Conference, as well as the Dominican Sisters International Confederation UN. So that's the beauty of having the justice promoters as part of this arm, if you will, that I needed in order to, excuse me, actually help put on these webinars. As a result, it also gave me a lot of practice on how to do Zoom. There was a lot of Zooming and a lot of new technology to learn, but that was one of the blessings of COVID, quite frankly, because prior to that, the UN was not able to reach out to so many people and also invite so many sisters to be a part of its work at the United Nations. Let me just say, we are one of about 30 different religious congregations at the United Nations. So faith-based NGOs are very important to be present at the United Nations, because it's our opportunity to give a different take on issues, as also because look at all the sisters that we have among us and all the resource people we have among us. So it's our opportunity to reach out to you, to ask you to help us advocate at the UN on behalf of the whole world. And that having grassroots people in mission is what's really important for NGOs to be successful here at the United Nations, because we can reach out to you, you can give us information, and then we can share that with the people at the United Nations. So it's really wonderful. I can't say what was the biggest, but I can say it was a lot. There were many things that were a big learning for me at the United Nations. I was unaware of the way they advocated for on behalf of the world. And it was a new way for me because I had been a justice promoter for 25 years, but I did not use some of the resources that the United Nations had. And so as a result, I had to learn, how do you advocate at the UN? And I learned you could write statements, you could give an oral statement in the assemblies, and also an opportunity to work with other NGOs. And together we wrote declarations, or we wrote other kinds of statements that we believed were important for us as a faith-based organization to share with the people at the United Nations. And by people, I mean the assembly, of the General Assembly of the United Nations, but also the different commissions. So that was a whole new area I had to learn too. I didn't know anything about the Commission on Social Development, or the Commission on Mining Working Group, or the Commission on Working Group with Girls. So these were all new areas that I had to learn and to develop. So one of the very first things I volunteered for, after being a part of what we called the Mining Working Group here at the UN, was the subcommittee on the indigenous peoples. And this was all new for me. But how did I know it was going to be so timely when we, as Dominicans together, actually began and had a whole December, I think it was 2 years ago, that we had dedicated to the month of peace on the indigenous people in the Amazon. So it was a wonderful opportunity. And the synchronicity of that is my very first International Dominican Justice Promoters meeting in Rome was during the time that in October of 2019, when the Amazonia people actually were in Rome having their synod and asking the Pope for some new possibilities among the people who were eager to have their faith developed and eager to be a part of that. So those were just a few of the things I had to learn. But the beautiful part is this: there are lots of other people who had to learn it too. And also, because we were working with other NGOs, they were my resource people to actually learn how to do these kinds of things. And we reached out to one another. That's the other thing. Working at the UN, you have to be a little willing to move yourself forward and reach out. And it's kind of like, what was a commercial a long time ago? Reach out and touch someone. Well, that's just what you have to do. So you have to be willing to be bold and be willing to ask for help and ask, how do we do this? And that's okay, because we're all learning, and so are they at the same time. So that's a beautiful part about the faith-based groups or the religious at the United Nations. So we religious actually do meet every month together on the first Wednesday of the month, so that we have a support group and asking, how are you dealing with this issue or that issue, or what are you concerned about, or how can we work together on something? So it's a wonderful community spirit, shall I say, when we have the religious at the UN. And there are both priests, brothers, and sisters at the United Nations. Well, I think one of the highlights for me was the working group on girls on the International Day of the Girl, which is October 11th. I started to think about, how can I connect, since Dominicans have girls' high schools, how can I connect with Dominicans in that way at the United Nations? So I connected with some of the Dominican schools in the United States, particularly Chicago area and New Jersey area, where there are 5 schools between New Jersey and New York. And then I worked with Dominicans in Africa, in Zimbabwe and Zambia, who have schools. And together we started talking to each other. And that's the beauty of Zoom. We could actually set up meetings where the girls could talk to each other and ask questions, because the idea of working group on girls is really to help promote the leadership of girls, the decision-making responsibilities that girls can do and do have, the opportunity for girls to meet other girls in the world and to talk about what are their concerns, and to actually just begin a relationship with other girls, not only the girls that they have in their own schools, but because even the United States schools were getting to know each other. Uh, so that was a fabulous opportunity for me, and for the girls. And then to invite girls to participate in a couple of different opportunities. One where they could write a statement and submit it, or they could be a part of a team of girls, which would be a global team of girls to write statements. And then there was the opportunity for girls to actually come to the UN in October. And so this year, for the first time, girls in, well, the second time, girls in the US were able to come to the UN for the day to talk about what girls want, what girls need, what girls know, what girls can do, and what girls is what does it mean to be a leader among other girls. And so hundreds of girls came to the UN on October 11th, and that was a crowning jewel, if you will, when you could actually have other young people come and participate in the day set aside just for them at the United Nations. Well, I learned number one, we're very diverse. We're diverse in our missions. We're diverse in our apostolic ministries. We're diverse in our way of thinking and our cultures. And the beauty of that is this is what helps make, as we say, make the world go around. It's the variations of cultures and and how important it is to try to understand the different approaches even to the issues. So if we're talking about women and we're talking about women's concerns, how do other people think about these issues? Not just the way the Westerners think about it, but how do Africans think about it? How do Latin American women think about that? So that's really an important dimension of what it means to be able to reach out to our Dominican sisters worldwide. So that's a great learning, and for which I'm so grateful for. And who can't be proud of the fact that you know people all over the world? It's a gift. It's a total gift. And I had the pleasure of meeting sisters in Peru from all over Latin America, sisters in Bangalore, India, from all over Asia Pacific, from the Philippines to Indonesia to Sri Lanka. I mean, this is an incredible opportunity as a Dominican to meet other Dominicans and to know what their issues are. What are their stories? What do they want us here at the United Nations to promote on their behalf? And that's another thing is to try to begin to understand better what it is are some of the issues that women are really struggling with. I'm thinking of just recently in January, I had the pleasure of being in Bangalore, and so many of the sisters were working with young children from the slums. But what do they need? What do their parents need? So when you're educating a child, it's not just the child. You need to talk to the parents. What do they need? So I learned a lot about what they're doing. And I was so not only impressed, that's not the right word, but edified to know all the ways in which sisters, no matter what country they're from, they are actually pursuing, and how we might pursue their issues here at the UN with their country ambassadors, with their missions. That's very important that we try to do that. So I think all in all, just the opportunity of interacting with these cultures and languages. So that was another learning I had to do is I got very acquainted with a wonderful program called Deep L, a translator. And then I started to remember that I should translate everything I do when I'm communicating with these, especially with the justice promoters who are from various countries, that I translate that. Now, granted, I'm not translating it, but at least I'm going to DeepL and getting that help. So that's really important to try to do things in the language of those that you're communicating and working with. I know that I wasn't perfect at it, but I remembered that, oh yes, I need to translate this. And so that's one of the learnings. Another learning I also had was all these different languages. And it's a blessing when so many sisters know languages. The other blessing is those relationships are not just for when I was at the UN. I still get Facebook connections with sisters who have been here and telling me what's going on, what are their concerns. So these relationships are very important to keep continuing, because these young women, and many of these sisters are very young compared to myself, and you want to support them in whatever they're doing. And that's the other part about being a delegate on behalf of the United Nations of Dominican Sisters Conference. And that is that you are really developing relationships that aren't just for the moment, but they're hopefully for a lifetime, because we're Dominicans for all our life, not just when I'm working at the UN. I think one is talk to your sisters. What are they struggling with? What are the justice issues that they are experiencing? We know there are the SDGs. There are 17 of them. So one of them is affecting what the sisters wherever they are, whether it's about water, whether it's about hunger, whether it's about poverty, whether it's about housing, whether it's about partnerships. Of those are very important. And so I think the most important thing as a justice promoter is make sure you know your sisters, or try to get to know them. Granted, that we're so many. How can we do that? One way is to just reach out and say, sisters, I'm now this promoter. I'd like to know, what is one issue that you and your congregation or sisters in your neighborhood are struggling with? And then as we put them together and talk about them together, we begin to see, are there any similarities? What are the similarities? And then you can go from there, because that's very important. I think the other thing is, we want this UN position and our international justice promoters to represent us, all of us. And so we can only do that with your input, and that's very important. I think the other thing is, just know that this is your UN, your justice promoter. And therefore, you can have a little more affinity to her, because she's working on behalf of you and because of all of our sisters. So I think that's what I believe is really important.